Growing up as a kid, I was always messing around with my dad's camcorder. I was always illustrating and making puppets and costumes. And when I got to art college finally, I kind of combined all my creative pursuits as a kid, and eventually I actually made it my job as well. The parallax technique is where you take a still photograph, you separate it up into layers, you bring it into a compositing application like After Effects, and then you put those layers into 3D space and then move a camera through. I was approached by Ad Hoc Films to create the animations for a film they were doing for the World Wildlife Foundation. And using the WWF stills, I was able to use this technique to create something really special. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a parallax shot. It's going to be a still, and we're going to be able to set it up in a way that it gives us all the right elements. So that'll be like a nice shallow depth of field. We're going to have some action. We're going to have things in the foreground and the background, and then we're going to be able to take that apart and animate it. I think that's the one, isn't it? Okay, cool. So we've got the shot. We can go and animate now. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring the photo into Photoshop. I'm going to start cutting out all the different layers and the different elements. In this case, you've got me, who's the sort of main subject, and I've got the ping pong balls, and I have the background. So I need to separate them all out first. Then I need to paint back in the background so that when we move the camera eventually in After Effects, you can see behind the subject. So this is the original shot. We've painted the background as best we can, and then I've gone around and cut out all the balls, and then finally there's me. Now that I'm happy with my Photoshop layered document, I'm going to bring it into After Effects. So I've got all my layers and I'm going to make them 3D, and I'm going to place a camera in there. And now I'm going to start positioning them in 3D space or Z space. And I'm going to throw the background layer quite far back, because that's how it would have actually been in reality. And I'm just going to size that up so it fills the frame again. I'm going to start placing the balls, some right far in the background and some in the foreground. And I'm actually going to duplicate some of these ball layers, and I'm going to throw them right into the foreground and give them a real blur. And I'm going to do the same into the background. I'm also going to colorize some actually. You know, I've only got red and orange ones here. I thought it would be cool if we could have a purple one and an aqua color one or something. So let's do that. So I'm really happy with how this is looking, and I'm just going to now animate the camera. Just going to do a simple zoom in, and that's it. Just a keyframe at the beginning and a keyframe at the end, and just a very graceful, slow movement in. Cool, that's looking good. Now I'm going to animate myself, so I need to pre-comp this, and I'm just going to pin the various elements, the limbs and where the elbow is, and over the course of a 5-second duration, I'm just going to move very subtly these different body parts. It's always important just to keyframe at the beginning and at the end, and just have one smooth move over the duration of your comp. I think the other really important thing is that any movement you have, it should be really subtle. Don't suddenly bring an arm up really suddenly. It's got to be a very subtle, graceful movement. Otherwise, the viewer's eye will pick up on anything that looks slightly strange. So let's go back into our master comp and see how that's looking. I think this is looking really good now, and I'm just going to add a lens flare. I'm going to stick on some film grain, and I'm going to render. Okay, cool, so it's rendered. Let's have a look. Yeah, it looks alright, it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. The parallax technique is really useful when you don't have live footage, but you do have archival photography or stills. It gives the effect that it's slow motion, or at least it brings the photo to life.